Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Well,
It's good to see you all. And I obviously, this is my first time at Edinburgh Pitch. I work closely with Mark Thomas. Mark and I are the unscripted team at Screen Scotland, Scotland Screen Agency, and we work across a variety of funds. Key ones obviously is our Film Development and Production Fund, which obviously deals with theatrical documentary, and indeed our Broadcast Content Fund, which is the TV side. I'm hugely excited to have the opportunity in my role to work so closely with Scottish Documentary Institute, and we're forging a very strong relationship, which is great. And in terms of projects, you know, I'm very excited to hear about everything we have today. And in particular, we have some very strong Scotland-based projects, but also in terms of international projects as well. There is always an opportunity to look at co-production and the likes, and we're always up for discussing that. And we have some great talent in Scotland, you know, that can support in that way. So do, consider us for conversation. And indeed, one of the things I want to say is Scotland is very much open for business. So very excited today. Thank you.
great. So hopefully, people can approach you or Mark and find out how they can forge new relationships with Scottish producers.
Yes, indeed, and apologies for the dog barking there, but yes, absolutely. Do come and speak to us. Very keen to chat.
Great. Thank you, Dani. Then I'll move on. I think Joost is not Joost. I can't see you from IDFA. No, so maybe we'll come back to Joost later. Daniel, let's how's Dogwoof?
Yeah, so yeah, well, thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me back. I think it's my seventh year and second digital year, so I feel like a proper veteran now of the wars. But no, yeah. So Dogwoof, I mean, we've had a really kind of exciting and kind of positive year in terms of the films that we've acquired, the films that we've been able to kind of sell. Obviously from our side as a distributor, it's been really kind of difficult with cinemas shut and not being able to kind of release and put out the kind of films that we've acquired and in some cases produced into cinemas straight away. But in terms of the production side, we've got kind of five feature films in production, 2 series in production, so that's still kind of chugging along. We're gradually getting these kind of projects out. I think we had a grand total of 7 titles at Sundance this year as well, which was our best ever kind of slate going in, and a lot of those were titles that we've produced. So yeah, the kind of the sales arm is you know, holding up well. Obviously there's a big demand for new films and new series, particularly from streamers, and you know, I think we were just at the right time in terms of our production slate to have finished projects that we were ready to kind of get out there to festivals, albeit in a digital form, at the right time, and sell as well. So we had 1 title, Playing with Sharks, at Sundance that we sold to National Geographic, another title called Sabaya, which sold to MTV. So yeah, just continuing our kind of partnerships with some of the kind of big US players, but at the same time, really on the lookout for projects at all stages of development, and all rights as well. So we're just starting to get back into the kind of theatrical swing of things. We've released a couple of titles into UK cinemas, and kind of the rest of Europe is starting to open up as well in terms of exhibitions. So yeah, cinemas aside, it's been a positive year overall, and we're keen to have a look at some new projects.
And do you find that you're engaging differently with the filmmakers over the last 12 months?
I think so. I think there's a lot more openness to different, you know, styles of documentary filmmaking, different subgenres within documentary as well, and I think that's allowing first-time filmmakers to kind of really emerge and come through. So yeah, that's been something that we've really been able to focus on. I mean, a lot of our slate that we're currently selling is you know, these are projects from first-time filmmakers spread across all different continents. So yeah, the appetite seems to be a lot more eclectic, and just in terms of how people consume documentaries and watch documentaries, that's definitely changed. I mean, I kind of look after home entertainment for Dogwoof, and the boom in not just SVOD but transactional VOD as well. We've launched our own platform now, and you know, some of the numbers that we've seen from that already, you know, we're very quickly covering the globe in terms of how people can access our films and watch our new releases. So yeah, it's definitely changed, but all in a very kind of short space of time.
New ways. Thank you, Daniel.
You were on mute, Noe.
Of course. Pressing the wrong button. I was just saying thank you, Daniel. I'll move on to Charlotte.
Hi, really happy to be back. I've been with you for many years now.
Yes.
Like once I get my foot in the door, it's really hard to get rid of. Sorry about that, but it's lovely to be back. My name is Charlotte. I work for SVT, the Swedish public service broadcaster, and it's business as usual, very much for us. Maybe the difference is we're working, obviously, like everybody else, online is getting more important to us. So we're looking more for projects that will do well online, also targeting a younger audience. Positive thing there is that in Sweden, apparently you're young well into your 40s. So that gives us a bit of leverage, that's good. So we're looking, I mean, the slots specifically that we work with internationally is we have a current affairs slots, which are weekly 1 hour show. Can be quite creative, but it has to have a strong journalistic base to it. And then we have a feature documentary slot called Docs. Creative storytelling, the big films that will reach a large audience, and that on the first channel as well. And then we have a really good arts and culture slot, which is a weekly one as well, which is also a very creative slot. Not so much necessarily focused on artist portraits, but also in creative storytelling and everything else, which is a really great slot. And then we do acquisition for the slots as well.
And in the last few years, we've been doing quite a few co-productions between Scotland and Sweden. How is kind of co-production kind of going at SVT? I mean, do you carry on? Is it something that you still very much encourage?
Absolutely, yes. I think, you know, the slots that I told you, obviously acquisitions for SVT is huge. We do a lot of acquisitions that go across the channels and across the slots. But the pre-buys and the co-productions that we do come out of our of a documentary production department in-house. So that means that we do work with getting involved with projects actively at different stages as well. And we do also encourage, I mean, I think there's a lot of, you can see that even in the films being presented here, there's a huge interest from Swedish producers to work internationally as well, and to form alliances across countries. And that's obviously something that we can only encourage, because I think it lends a lot back to us and it makes great films. So I'm very happy about that.
Great. So thank you very much, Charlotte. I'll go to Joost. IDFA, tell us all about it.
Hello, good afternoon. Great to be back. IDFA, what is IDFA? IDFA is a film festival in Amsterdam, which takes place every November, last 2 weeks of November. This year we will be there from the 17th until the 28th. We are a festival, firstly, which showcases 250 films, approximately. We've gone a little bit down in the numbers. Still a lot. And we also have a big industry component that comes with the festival, and it's most known and most important for filmmakers, I think, is the forum, which is a 3-day event where basically ideas and hopefully money come together. We have Docs for Sale, the markets for finished documentaries, and we have the IDFA Academy, which is the tutor program for emerging filmmakers, which we bring talent and people that work longer in the field together with an extensive program for the the first 4 days of the festival. So yes, that's in a nutshell what we do, and yeah, we try to be a platform for documentary culture and bring people together. Basically, that's our role.
And this year, I mean, IDFA was organized in, well, we had kind of like different strands from previous years. Does that mean that you are looking for different type of films that you used to, or I mean, how's the selection done?
Yeah, we changed the program structure. I think it's something we wanted to do for quite a longer time. I think this was just a good year to do it after a strange year last year. Yeah, and I think when you look at the new program structure, I think we used to sort of have this. We used to have this selection and competition programs based on sort of, not only sort of, but on formal regulations, basically. So we had first film longer than 70 minutes was automatically eligible for the debutant competition, first appearance it's called. If it's a film between 40 and 70 minutes, it was going to mid-length. So it doesn't say anything about sort of what the film itself is. And I think that with the new structure, we sort of hope and that we have, that we have a premiere section that's built around 4 programs that, that say something about the programs themselves and the competitions, that say something about what you can expect as kind of films or so. So it really we place them on the base of their own value in specific strands, and hopefully that is for the industry, for the filmmakers, and also for the audience. Gives them a little better indication of what to what they are going through and what to expect when they see in which strand the film is playing. I think that's the underlying message.
Thank you, Joost. We'll move on to back to Scotland. Tony, tell us a little bit about BBC Scotland.
Thanks, Noe. It's great to be here for another year. I don't know if I'm quite a veteran yet, but I've done a few years. It's good to see everybody again, and it's great that documentary productions continued over the past year and in some really creative ways. Actually, the pandemic has seen us develop some new approaches to filmmaking, which has been really interesting to see, sadly for the circumstances, but it's been incredible to see the ingenuity of everybody and continuing to produce the amazing work that they have. For BBC Scotland, feature documentaries continue to be a really important part of our slate, but we've sort of narrowed down our approach slightly. I think it's worth saying, particularly to this group, but it won't come as a surprise that we don't fully fund feature documentaries, so we would expect producers to have explored lots of other funding routes and hopefully have funding in place before they talk to us, or at least have some interest from other parties. We work really closely with other parts of the BBC, and it's great to see some colleagues on the call as well, and also with Dani and Mark at Screen Scotland, who've been really supportive of a number of projects we've done recently. To mention just a couple, in the past year we broadcast Flint, which looked at the water crisis there, and we've also just recently broadcast Killing Escobar, which did incredibly well, both in terms of broadcast and on the iPlayer, which becomes all the more important for us. Video on demand is just such a really big focus for us, particularly in reaching younger audiences. And Charlotte, might be pleased to hear we're under 55 and you're still young. So there you go. You could be a bit older in Scotland and still be young. So I mentioned these 2 films because they use really compelling testimony to bring us contemporary story or a story with real strong contemporary interest to life, and that's really what we're interested in. This is absolutely where we'll focus the bulk of our efforts in future. And we're also looking for feature docs which have a really strong statement to make and which have a surprising twist wherever we can. Films should be character-led and take us into worlds that we don't often see. If that's not the definition of feature doc, I don't know what it is. In most cases, there should be an element of real drama and excitement. And this isn't to say we're not interested in poignant stories, but they must have a really strong contemporary narrative, which is likely to have broad appeal, particularly with our young audiences. So that's in a nutshell our focus at the moment, and I'm looking forward to hearing the pitches today. And what I've seen, there's a really great mix of terrific content there.
And BBC is having a big drive in terms of diversity. Can you say a few words about that, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, diversity's always been important to the BBC, well, particularly over the past, for as long as I've been the past 10, 20 years, but it's sort of really come into the fore now. It's a sort of renewed focus in ensuring diversity, not just in terms of ethnic background, but age, sexuality, all the things we've come to expect, but also in terms of social diversity, so social class and economic background, which for quite a long time we talked about, but there wasn't really a metric around or a target around. And we think that's really important in terms of not only authenticity, but in ensuring that the pipeline of new talent is also as diverse as it possibly can be. So yeah, diversity is hugely important, rightly so.
Great, thank you, Tony. And I think I'll jump to Joe, BBC Storyville. It's so good to see you again, Joe. It's been a while since you've been in Edinburgh, so it's great to welcome you back.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be back. Thank you. Yes, I'm sort of here in a Storyville, wearing a Storyville hat today. Yeah, just to say a bit about the Strand. So it's a BBC's international documentary strand, and looking for the very best in global filmmaking in feature docs. And its home is on BBC 4, and in a growing and extensive collection of films on the BBC iPlayer as well, which we're really proud of. I think we've got about 30 films up there at the moment, so it's fairly substantial feature doc offer from Storyville. I mean, the films are very diverse in nature, and that's the sort of idea of the Strand. We're here to represent the best from all over the world, so having that range of stories and storytelling styles and approaches and different ways into looking at what's sort of current in the world, and also in sort of contemporary history as well, are all kind of aspects of what Storyville does. I think the one key element to all the films is that sense of ambition, cinematic type ambition, and unfolding narrative, and having the extraordinary characters as well. So, and coming on board at various stages in production. So, taking projects right from development through, as well as co-producing, pre-buying, and also an element of acquisition every year in the Strand as well. So it's a real mix. Yeah, and it's about and looking for about 20, somewhere in the region of 20 films each year is supported by Storyville.
And Joe, I mean, Storyville is one of the few feature length kind of documentary kind of refuge for filmmakers in the UK. Is there any hope kind of to widen those numbers, or to to be able to have more kind of feature documentary presence on the channel?
I mean, I think we're also acquiring feature documentaries outside of Storyville. I mean, Tony just talked about what's happening in Scotland, and there are opportunities within music and arts as well for that more kind of feature documentary approach. But I think, what Storyville offers is quite specific. And if there is scope and scale to increase, then absolutely. But I think at the moment that's sort of the Strand is doing really well. I mean, I think it's had a very successful year, and I think if there is room to do more stories, they will. But at the moment, I think I'm not aware of any plans to sort of scale up the number of films that they're doing.
Okay, great. And in terms of working, between BBC Storyville and like BBC Scotland or BBC Wales, etc., is there? I mean, is that collaboration kind of being more fluid, or just the same as in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is very creatively driven, and I think that's what motivates the commissioning. And if there's an opportunity to co-commission with Scotland, and we've done that in the past, and we've co-commissioned with BBC in Northern Ireland as well, then absolutely we're open to it. I mean, like BBC Scotland, we're looking for co-production opportunities, we're looking for partnerships, and if those are available within the BBC, then we would certainly welcome that.
Great, brilliant. Thank you, Joe. We will move on to, let's see, kind of, on my list, kind of, let's go to Lindsay. We'll stay in London. Hi, Lindsay. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too. It's so great to be back again this year.
Thank you.
So I'm head of docs at The Guardian. My core focus is really our short strand, which is for character-led narrative shorts for our digital platform. And with that, it's really been business as usual this year. We still sort of have an open all hours approach and we don't sort of commission in rounds. We sort of either react to independent filmmakers pitching to us, or we translate Guardian journalism by building teams around projects. With that, like I say, we're really looking for character-led narrative approaches. We really like, visually ambitious or creatively innovative films as well. So formally, we're really open to experimentation, different ideas. And a lot of people know The Guardian, right, as a news brand. So we're really always looking for contemporary lenses on stories that will appeal to our global audience. And we're particularly interested in international stories. We don't directly fund features, but there are sort of ways for us to get involved in longer form storytelling in features or series that happen sort of off platform. Mainly what we're doing in that space is translating Guardian journalism. But if it is very closely related to core sort of Guardian journalism or Guardian sort of, ethos around storytelling, there are some ways for us to get involved in that too.
And of course, this year you had a wonderful year with Colette, kind of, winning kind of Oscars for shorts. Kind of, are you hoping for more kind of, of those films in the pipeline?
Yeah, it was a really great year with Colette, and it's a project that's really close to my heart as well. I mean, who isn't hoping for Oscars all the time? I don't know, like it's great, and I can really see how that really helps audiences to find films as well. So I think we build sort of launch strategies bespoke around projects. So it's not like a one size fits all kind of approach. We really look at what the story is, what the filmmaker's ambition is, where we think audiences might be. And then we try to, innovate and build ideas around connecting with audiences or like furthering filmmakers' ambition. And of course, prestigious awards is sometimes part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really encouraging for filmmakers to want to work more with The Guardian, because it's no longer just having your film kind of posted online. As you said, there's a whole strategy, all kind of, push for the film to be seen as much as possible and keep alive much longer. So I think that's brilliant. Great. Thank you, Lindsay. We will move on to Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi there. How are you? Good morning.
Good. Early morning for you, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad though. It's very nice to be back here. POV is continuing on. We just wrapped our 33rd season on public television. We're the longest running showcase for independent nonfiction documentary on television in the US. We start our 34th season with 14 new films on July 7th. Similar to many of the other panelists, we are looking for, I would say, cinematic, nonfiction narrative storytelling. Really, yeah, I mean, you could look across our series and say, oh, this is a this is a social issue series, but I actually don't see it that way, nor do I curate that way. I'm looking for what film does best, and through sound and image and character and storytelling is this synthesis of, it's an emotive medium. So I'm looking for films that are human stories that connect viewers to the characters we meet, and through their experience and through the director's vision, we're introduced to their worlds, and through that we learn a lot about social issues and politics and aging and sex and race and all of that. But yeah, for me, it leads with the human connection and the human stories that are being unfolded and presented in a masterful way. Similar to other strands, I'm looking for films that are pushing the envelope in terms of structure and form and format, and yeah, just bringing the best of what film can be. And yeah, so we do about 14 to 18 features a year, a healthy mix of domestic and international projects, acquisitions and co-productions. We also have a short strand. We have generally between 4 and 8 half-hour episodes of shorts. So it could be 2 or 3 shorts packaged together thematically, or it can be one-offs. Yes, and we are on public television in the US. So we reach anywhere between 1 and 4 million viewers per film, I'd say.
That's an extraordinary audience.
And it's small. I'd also say that coming through the pandemic, I feel like we're at a really exciting moment, because right now, just this last weekend, the Tribeca Film Festival started, and we have 8 films there, which are a combination of films from last season, which never got out, were seen in front of audiences, and a mix from this season. And so I've actually seen a good portion of my staff in person and have been able to hug them. So it feels like, yeah, it feels great.
Are you allowed to hug?
Yeah, we are. I mean, pretty much everyone is vaccinated on our end, and so yes, it feels like a sunny day.
Sounds good. And did you find a shift in the way, I mean, in the audience consumption of documentaries during this last few months?
A shift in the audience. Sorry, I'm not sure.
The amount of documentaries that they will watch, or did they watch it differently, kind of during this period?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think there was a shift to a lot of SVOD platforms and digital consumption and series, but I can't say that our one-off documentaries suffered. I think our numbers in terms of reaching audiences, public television audiences, has remained the same, and there's been a trend in terms of reaching folks on all of the other PBS platforms that's increasing, and we're leaning into that as well.
Great, thank you, Chris. I think I'll kind of go to Anya. Sundance.
Hello.
Another kind of celebration. So many good films, kind of having gone through Sundance this year.
It was a pretty good year, yeah. I mean, it was a weird one, I'm not going to lie, but it was good. We made it work one way or another. And I guess it sounds like we're all looking for the same type of a film, which is interesting. We love really good stories, interesting stories and original voices, and we really focus on trying to shift, to help with the shift in terms of which voices are getting elevated and who's actually benefiting from some of these stories being told. So it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of fun, and it's, we already opened our submissions for next year. So we have our dates, and that's January 20th to the 30th next year. already looking at films. So we're happy to see people's submissions, and we'll be doing that until the end of September. So we don't entirely know what the program will be like yet, because we trying to figure out the exact sort of well, our strategy and our structure and all of those things in terms of what we can do. But it's been decided that we're going back to Park City in person, and there'll also be an online component to the festival that we're just trying to figure out right now to see what works best for our audiences and some of the industry as well. So that's that.
Well, we will follow kind of, how you move on kind of, with great interest. There's still so much to learn about the new shift kind of, and this hybrid kind of presence. It's still not quite solved. So we'll look forward to that. And hopefully kind of, amongst kind of all the projects that we sharing with you today, they might kind of, who knows, some kind of arriving in Sundance. But
fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya. Great. We'll go back to UK. Cíntia, you must be exhausted.
Hi. Good to meet you and good to be back again.
Well, thank you for kind of attending, having just kind of literally finished Sheffield, and a lot going on there this year. So tell us about the changes at DocFest.
Yeah, so first, thank you for having me again. It's really lovely to be here. The DocFest finished on Sunday. So 2 days ago, 1 day and a half ago. and we are very happy, actually. It went very well. It was physical and online. And we managed to have, with a lot of social distancing, but we managed to have every film in the cinema, and to have the physical arts exhibitions, which was great. And some UK filmmakers came, some American filmmakers came, quarantined and managed to be there, which was amazing. And then we had the online platform, and we also screened 5 films across the UK in 16 cinemas. So it was quite a new way of doing Sheffield DocFest, but it was pretty fun, I would say, and actually really, we managed to reach our audiences and also reach those who would be in Sheffield but didn't really want to travel. And so I don't think anyone felt they couldn't be in Sheffield DocFest, which is great. And we had 2 projects from last year's Edinburgh Pitch in our mid-market. One of them won an award, which is amazing. I was so happy. So that's why I'm here, because it's a productive place to be.
Thank you.
Good projects. I don't know. I should maybe talk about next Sheffield DocFest, because this one is over. Which I still don't know how it will be, right? Because we just finished, but I'm sure it will be physical. Probably it will have some online component. We need to think about it and look at what we've done, and also, get some feedback from everyone who attended. So whoever attended, who is here, please send us your feedback, answer the surveys, because that's really useful. But for sure, we will keep looking for films that are unique, that have, an artistic and political and ethical approach that is strong, affirmative, author-driven, cinematic. And we will also support arts projects as usual. So we have an exhibition that this year was physical and online. I don't know how next year will be, but for sure we want to reach out to digital artists in every media that are interested in coming. And then we will keep our industry activities. This year we had besides the meat market, we had the Wickers Pitch, which was great. That's where Red Herring won an award. for first feature projects. We'll keep the pitchings with our partners. We had the Guardian panel, which was great. So, you know, we really want to expand and find new partners for meaningful conversations about how our industry can move forwards in a positive way. And we address some questions also around, for example, bullying at work, or, you know, accessibility to the industry, etc. So this is something that is really dear to us, and we want to continue doing that. And yeah, we'll have the meat market, which we will still open submissions, keep track of our newsletters, and we will send news. But for sure, we want to support strong projects, diverse voices, all territories. And yeah, and the most important thing is really that we need to look at a project or a film and feel that there is an absolute need for that filmmaker to make that film, and that it somehow makes sense, and it's something that does come from that personal drive, which is quite vague to say, but you know, we are open-minded, and therefore I don't like to narrow too much the scope.
I think what you say is really important, Cíntia, because the urgency of telling their stories is really what drives us to work all hours, but at the same time giving the space and the funds to kind of get that creativity going. So it's not just a story, but the voice of the director that we're encouraging.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's really important for us that.
Yeah.
Let me just add one thing, Noe. I'm really sorry. I let Flora know that today I will not be able to be at the roundtables, but I want to make sure that I have time for all the projects. So we'll be in touch and find slots in time after today, so that I can meet the projects. I'm really sorry. It was like an unexpected thing.
That's quite all right, Cíntia. That's the beauty of being online. It does give that flexibility for emergencies kind of, you know, occurring, kind of, you know. But thank you for attending this kind of, you know, this first kind of round table.
Thank you.
Great. So we'll move on. Who have we got? Hannah, how are you doing?
Trying to unmute myself. There I am. Well, thank you for having me back. It's good to be here again and join you all. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Hannah Bush-Bailey, and I work as part of the film team for Doc Society, a non-profit org who work globally to fund and support independent documentary film and filmmakers. It's been business as usual, as much as it can be over the last year, and just a lot of kind of adapting, a lot of learning how to run online events and try and keep people awake and engaged, and labs and stuff, and adapting and supporting our filmmakers as they kind of wade through what has been quite a difficult year for production. But they've done it well and continued going. And we run a number of funds across the globe that kind of are all open at different times and have different targets depending who they're funded by and where they're from. Here in the UK, our flagship fund is the British Film Institute's National Documentary Fund, which we've been running for a few years now. And we're still going strong. We have a great slate of projects that we're very excited about, and many that have just participated in Sheffield and Meat Market. And we will be looking, so through that fund we can support feature documentaries. We have just over $1 million a year to spend on independent feature docs, and we're looking for creative cinematic documentaries made for the cinema. Again, as many others have said, we're looking for kind of fresh perspectives, new voices. We cover kind of across the UK, so that includes the nations as well. So regionality is very important to us, and making sure we're hitting a diverse range of stories. And we kind of fund, again, we can't fully fund those films, so we work with many of the partners on this panel to get those films up and going. We can do development, production, or completion, although I will say this last year we've probably put a heavier focus on those that are completing and that we know can get over the line during the pandemic, whilst others on our slate have been maybe more stalled. So we will be opening the Features Fund again in the late summer. And through the BFI Fund, we also fund short films. So we will fund 10 new short films, and that scheme is up to 15,000, and it's aimed at kind of new and emerging talent. That doesn't mean young, it just means emerging in the game. And again, we're looking to open that in around the summer, late summer. We don't have set dates yet. We also launched our SOS Production Fund last year as a response to the pandemic, and that supported 17 films in the end, with kind of some additional restart costs to get them going after the first lockdown. So we're very pleased about that. And then looking at our more international and global funds, at the moment we have what we call the New Perspectives Fellowship, which is open for applications, and that's aimed at American filmmakers based over in North America, and it's very much artist funding rather than project-based funding. So that is a scheme set up to support individual artists who are creating non-fiction work rather than project-specific. So I'd encourage anybody kind of who might be watching that's in the States that's interested to take a look online. It's all on our kind of website and guidelines and application form. And our newest adventure this year, which has been super exciting, is the kind of birth of our climate unit. So for a number of years, we've been concentrating a lot, doing a heavy focus on climate and climate stories and new ways of telling climate narratives. And this year we were able to launch a unit which comprises of a fund and also a climate story lab. And we have Climate Story Lab, as with our Good Pitch model, it's kind of to innovate and share and for people to run them across the globe and from their own regions. And we have a great website that has a whole kind of report and a whole kind of set of resources on if other organisations want to run similar funds. And the Climate Story Fund, which has just closed but will open again kind of in the fall, in the autumn time. And for that, it's got a global focus, but it's got more of a European focus. And that is the first fund for us that can be kind of across mediums. So it doesn't have to just be non-fiction feature work. And that is looking for funding for production and impact. I'm really looking for projects that are completed, can be completed and finishing in the next 12 months, but it's really about solution focused and future possibilities and visions is its aim, and uplifting communities who have traditionally been left out of the climate narrative, even though it might mostly adversely affects them. So that's us in a nutshell, I think.
That's a fantastic range of different funds, which really going to help kind of, filmmakers with those different stories that we're talking about. But Doc Society has also been very instrumental in the last 12 months in keeping UK documentary filmmakers together and active and actually kind of talking to each other through monthly meetings. And I think that also has made a difference in identifying what we feel we need in UK and creating different debates. So for that, kind of, thank you very much, Doc Society, for, having invested the time and the woman power to make it happen.
Thank you.
We'll move on. I think Teresa also kind of, probably feeling fairly tired from kind of, a festival which is not kind of, CPH finished not so long ago. So tell us about what happened and tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, I wish I knew. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me again. It's so nice to be back in Edinburgh. I really hope to be able to see you all physically in the third year. But as you guys, we have at CPH Docs also gone through the second online edition this April, even though by moving the festival a month in front, a month later, the festival normally happens the last week or last 10 days of March. We moved to April and we were able to open the cinemas for 1 week. So there were real people sitting in real cinemas, and that felt amazing. But we actually realized that the whole industry part that I'm mostly representing here, because I'm heading the forum online, and we're really happy with what this asset could do, because in a way we reached the biggest global community ever for CPH Docs. So I mean, it's good to be in this time of the year. We are still gathering some numbers, but the industry part has grown by 1/2 since the festival moved to the spring in 2017. There are around 2,000 people participating and trying to co-produce with the forum projects, but also with the projects that are coming with the delegations. And we were happy to have for the second year the Scottish delegation. And it was really nice to also have 2 Scottish projects at the forum. One was the Wild Ones from Eva Weber that we actually met for the first time last year in this platform. So really, really grateful to be back. I think for us, the digital shift meant that we had to really think individually about everybody who is going through the festival. The Zoom and screen fatigue is huge, I think, across the globe. So it really takes a very clear agenda of everybody and a real tailoring. So we ended up inventing new events. The good side of this space again is that there is no limit in terms of the location or the flying and accommodation budget for the guests. So we created new events for the delegations. Again, there were 7 delegations from all over the world, bringing 150 people to Copenhagen. Super grateful. But we created this mini press conferences for all the projects, all the films that were in the competitions of the festival and therefore at the market. So they had kind of a new platform to communicate with the press and with distributors across the globe. Lots of other presentation matchmaking platforms. So I'm sure that we are going to keep some of those. And again, we also realized how important it is to create real connections and especially take care of the newcomers in the market. So there will be definitely some sort of a balance of what is it that we can do physically and what is it that we can keep online and preserve the planet and maybe not travel so much again. I mean, it's an open conversation, I think, that's happening across all the festivals, and we are learning from each other. So it's inspiring to be here. And on the other capacity of mine, I'm working for the Chicken and Egg Pictures as an international program consultant. So there I would be able to help filmmakers that are self-identifying as women. We have major programs for first and second time filmmakers, but I'm also happy to meet established filmmakers who can be eligible for the Chicken and Egg Pictures Award. I think that's in a nutshell. Yeah, that's a fund, international fund based in San Francisco and New York, founded in 2005. And over those, what is it now, 16 years, we granted more than $8 million to 340 filmmakers. So it's pretty exciting.
Impressive.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Teresa. Okay, we'll move on. Jack, our newcomer this year from Sky.
Thank you very much for having me. Nice to meet you, and thank you very much for having me. I was really interested to hear everyone's contributions and fully subscribe to everything that's been expressed. We've worked with many of the people in the virtual room over the course of the year and had the pleasure to do so. As you probably know, we launched SDI Documentaries, SDI Nature and SDI History a little over a year ago. That was to complement our entertainment portfolio, and I think it belies the fact that documentaries are really flourishing across pay, free-to-air and SVOD platforms, and I think there's a huge appetite for such an eclectic array of documentary content. I think it's the combination of the compelling storylines that everyone's expressed and the authenticity, and also the creativity and the vision of great directors that are sort of employing movie tropes and all the ingredients of a great drama are often there in the characters and storytelling of documentaries now. It's been a golden period for a long time. So it was an area that we identified we were probably lacking on SDI's offering, outside of arts and outside of what we had on Atlantic. And I think for SDI Documentaries, what we really want to do is replicate the success of SDI Atlantic and what we lent to drama and comedy. We obviously have output deals with HBO and Showtime, but we started to complement that far more with SDI Originals. And we're doing so in the documentary space now with through co-post, pre-buys and full-on commissions. So we're trying to apply the right model to the right vehicle. But what we really want to do is invest in compelling storytelling, and that's at the heart of all the decisions we make, whether they're, SDI being SDI, we're not afraid of straight up entertainment in this space, and we've got obviously a huge sports and cinema subscription base. So things like Tina and the United Way are very easy for our audience to access. They're very much an inbuilt audience for those type of vehicles. But we launched The Return, Life After ISIS, which recently premiered at Sheffield, which is more of a esoteric and challenging observational documentary, which we're delighted with. That's hot on the heels of something like Exterminate All the Brutes, which was an amazing, beautifully authored piece by Raoul Peck. And then later in the month, we'll have a 3-parter on Ghislaine Maxwell. So that's SDI Documentaries. SDI Nature, we're looking for big cinematic blue chip series. It's more celebratory in tone. We have True Crime, which again, we're looking for tentpole kind of documentaries to invest in rather than acquire. And SDI Arts, I should mention very briefly, but it's a real eclectic mix of great content, both feature and series. And we launched that free-to-air towards the back end of last summer, which was great. And we feel like that made real sense and resonated with the audiences because it was all about greater access to that content. And it's a delight to work on that channel too. And it's really sort of landed, and it's reinforced aspects of the cultural economy, cultural recovery, particularly in the exhibition space, whether it's performance or galleries or anything in between. And next year, I think we'll have a focus on mindfulness and mental well-being, because we're all going to be nuts after all these Zoom calls. But that's what we've been up to, and I really look forward to hearing the pitches later on, and hearing their ideas and their visions for the projects that we've been sent.
Well, we are delighted to have SDI kind of back on this type of forum, because it's you should be there. And the work that you're looking for very much kind of echoes what people have been preparing in the background. So great, look forward to more collaboration. Thank you, Jack. We'll move on to Laurent. Let's go to France. How are you, Laurent?
My turn.
Your turn. Still carrying Arte on your shoulders?
Well, no, please don't call me Atlas. I'm not not good at that game. Not really. No. Oh, I have my own, weight to carry. So just trying to carry my little slot, which is already something. Trying to cope with this current bloody situation. Apart from that, well, I don't know what interests you in particular, but
Well, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, kind of, in the last 12 months, and what kind of films are you looking for in the coming future?
Well, generally speaking, I would say that it's to me it's a kind of a strange situation, since we are not really often at Arte headquarters, which means that I'm seeing things from my windows, and well, generally speaking, the kind of film that will, I think, have a major interest that it already has in the next few years is everything that is environmental related topics, environment and climate change, things like that. I think it's going to increase, and well, if you I don't know if you heard, there has been a major change at Arte, since we are going to have the first female program director, which is which has been kind of a, I wouldn't say revolution in the house, but has been
radical enough to be noted.
Well, indeed. And not only the program director, who I think many people know, because it's Emily de Jong, who currently is head of the art department at Arte France. So she knows very well the house, and she's a very known professional. So I think that is going to be a very interesting situation. Mm-hmm. And the head of how do you call it in English? Sorry, I'm so exhausted that I've failed to find my vocabulary again. The head of planning, programmation. Programming. Thank you. She's a woman also. She's coming from Germany, so as I said, very interesting situation. Mm. So
we look forward to see what's going to be commissioned then in the coming year. Then, if there is any influence at all from management to commissions.
Yes, and well, talking about my slot, Aventure humaine, Abenteuer der Menschheit, which, as I usually say, I can loosely translate as a human experience. I am personally interested in films that it's a deal with history, archaeology, some great scientific expeditions. So not really the kind of films we are dealing with, which is always interesting for me, because I can keep an eye on something different. So
this year we had a lot of very sad stories.
Yes, that's something I noted. I was as I watched the trailers and looked at the the pitch, I was puzzled to see death all everywhere. So yeah, I find it interesting. And first we have the disease, then we have death. So it's
imagine all the proposals we had to read, kind of, who also dealt with this. It was a huge selection on that topic.
I suppose so. What is it going to be next year? Afterlife?
Well, who knows? You'll have to come back. Thank you, Laurent. We'll move on as we're running out of time. Dani, let's YLE. Tell us about what's happening there with you. Hopefully something positive.
I wish I could add something positive here, yes. Well, I'm Jenny. I'm nice to be back here again, and I work for YLE, which is the public broadcaster in Finland. So I could basically echo very much what Charlotte and Joe said, BBC and SVT, because we kind of look for the same films, I guess, and we kind of work a little bit in the same way. Personally, I work for the film team in YLE, which means that we commission, we pre-buy and we acquire films, which means both feature films and documentary films. We don't have regular slots on the broadcast anymore because our main way of putting out the films is online. But the platform, YLE platform, is very popular. So it's actually the most popular, even if there is hard competition with the more commercial ones. So we basically, what makes it very hard, because we have to kind of consider every film separately, and we have to kind of see what kind of audience potential it has or could have in Finland. And that, of course, makes big challenges a little bit. And we have been discussing many different ways of promoting them, because all the film needs promotion, and you can immediately see that the audience is growing if you have the means to promote the film a little bit. And of course, YLE doesn't have those resources for every single film. So in a way, we also are dependent, or we are all kind of very happy when the producers kind of also engage in the promoting job, because that makes it easier. Domestic subject, of course, works the best, like for everybody else, I think. So the further away the stories and the characters and the places are, the harder it is to kind of raise an interest. So, but we have also seen that the viewing habits have kind of changed, because now, if we were talking about mobile watching some years ago, people watching on a mobile or a small screen, actually the thing growing at the moment is the big screen watching. People are really investing in big screens, so that makes it interesting also to kind of look for very good cinematography and very well-made films, because people are actually watching them on very big screens. What we though hope is that the gap between festival and festival films and the films that work for us wouldn't be too wide, because there is a little bit tendency to, and hopefully that gap is not widening, because that makes it harder and more difficult to kind of find an audience on the platforms, because you're not only competing with the other platforms, you're actually competing about people's time when they go online. So it's a constant struggle. But basically, we are looking for the same thing as everybody else here: the best films, the best audience potential films, the 5 festival winners, the prizes and everything. So good luck. I'm looking very much forward. In previous years, I have found some very good projects in Edinburgh, so I'm happy about that.
So hopefully we'll end up with many co-productions if we're all looking for the same films. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. Petar, you
Hello.
the latest acquisition of Taskovski Films. Tell us about what you're up to.
Well, it is really nice to be here. That's first thing for me. This is the first time here, but the company is here for a long time. But our CEO Irena couldn't make it now, so I'm the best possible substitute.
Good.
So, well, more or less, Taskovski Films is London-based world sales and production company for independent documentaries, and we've been around for about around 20 years. And we gained this experience in sales, distribution, sometimes co-production, and also consultancy and education. We have 2 main editorial lines, since we are known for the strong art house, author-driven documentaries. And on the other hand, we deal also with demands of broadcasters. So we had recently 2 very successful titles like Children of the Snowland and Sanctuary with the famous Javier Bardem, which was doing well at TVs and VODs. Yeah. And festivals are kind of our specialty, yeah. And we had like in our catalog for the last year, it was a Radiograph of a Family, which is IDFA winner. And recently we have this Hot Dogs winner, Ostrov, Lost Island, which is very hot right now. And we are really happy to have it in our slots, yeah. And also in our catalog, yeah. Also, we usually work not more with during 1 year. We don't take more than 10 to 15 films because we don't commit to more, because we treat all of our films equally, and you have to, each film has a special treatment because it's all of them are different, and then you have to make a really tailor-made strategy and to push it on the right place and to find the right audience. Yeah. And also for distribution, we usually take the films at the rough cut stage. And for co-production, since we do several co-productions in the last several years, we also do pre-sales. And we usually get in at the beginning in development or production stage. Right now we have this, we are doing co-production with the young Indian director. It's Golden Thread, the film. I hope it will be done end of this year or the next year, and we hope it will work well. Yeah. And also I have to mention that we have our VOD platform, and it's really doing great, because sometimes when you give your films to some big, huge oceans of films and content, they get lost. And this is how we found a nice way to really take care of our titles and to bring them to the real, the right audience. And
great.
Also, also what's important for us when we start working with someone, whether it's a co-production or it's a sales or distribution or whatever, we love to work with them for more projects. Like when we start working, when you enter the family, that's more or less it. And yeah, we love to work with the same people all the time. Yeah.
I think it's great for filmmakers to feel they're being looked after as filmmakers, not just the film. So,
of course, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Petar. Well, we'll move on. Last, I think, but not least, Elizabeth from Autlook Filmsales.
Hi. Hi. My name is Elizabeth and I work for Autlook Filmsales. This is my first time here, so thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we are fortunate to have worked with filmmakers such as Benjamin Ree on The Painter and the Thief with Neon, Oscar nominee for Sama by Ward Al-Khatib, or There Is No Eye in Threesome from J. Ollie Lux, where we have worked with HBO Max. Recently, we have picked up Loving Highsmith by Eva Vitya. We are experienced in pre-sales, so we like to come on board early for some projects. In some cases, we also act as executive producers. So sort of the latest moment we would come on board is rough cut stage before the film has premiered. My role is mainly overseeing all TV sales, and you will get to meet our CEO, Salma, who is a regular at Edinburgh, tomorrow at the one-on-ones because she couldn't be here today, unfortunately. Yeah, we are vaccinated and happy to meet you all outside of these boxes, hopefully soon.
Fantastic. That's great news, Elizabeth. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, and see you again across the next link.
Thanks, Emma. Bye-bye.